Hello, everyone. It is a crazy time in the new media world. And one of the craziest things is we're going to talk about today is Ludwig's decision to move to YouTube Gaming. He is stopping live streaming on Twitch and moving to YouTube Gaming. We're talking about that today. But not only that, we are also covering Twitch and its future. We're covering YouTube and its success and where it's going, what's happening in 3 sections. The strap in. This is going to be a crazy video. We're going to start with Ludwig, and then I'm going to timestamp the other 2 sections for you if you want to look at Twitch and what's happening with it. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff there. I think there's so many things that are going to appear in this video that nobody is talking about and just doesn't realize. And if you want to really get a good picture of like what new media is doing, especially in the live streaming space, make sure to watch the whole thing. So starting with Ludwig and his reasons, I think, for moving and what's happening there. Ludwig is someone who I respect at a very high level. He's what I would call an intentional content creator, a person who sets themselves up to target a goal in content creation and then just goes for it and nails it. He had an incredibly successful YouTube channel in a relatively small amount of time, as well as on Twitch. He's launched tons of really cool events, from supporting the fighting game community in Smash to doing insane subathons where he gets tons of subs and doing charity events. He's just an awesome content creator all around. And I want to talk about what I think some of his reasons were for leaving. He had a fantastic video that I encourage you to watch, which is why I left Twitch, on his mogul channel, his secondary channel. And I want to kind of like outline some of the reasons there and bring some attention to them, and also incorporate some of the other content creators into this. If you don't know, I'm Devin Nash. I run an agency called Novo, which is one of the top agencies representing talent and creative brands in the space. I also talk about stuff in the new media space, influencer marketing and stuff like that interests me. So let's get into it. I'm ready. I'm so excited. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is Ludwig and his reasons. That's going to be number 1 here. And I just want to get the most boring one out of the way. This is truly the most boring one because the rest of the stuff is like so cool to talk about. And that's just the money. Okay. The money is the first bastion, basically, of what we're going to have to talk about. I mean, Ludwig outright tells you in his videos that he's getting paid vastly more for being on YouTube. And I'm gonna toss up our friend here, Moist Critical, and his commentary on this subject. Let's give a listen.
YouTube offered me more money than Twitch. I'll just say straight up, they offered me more money.
All right, so here's something I'll touch on real quick. Toast recently came back, and he made a statement saying that Twitch's contracts are 1/30th the money that other streaming platforms are. Now, as a lot of you know, I do have that company where we manage like content creators and stuff. Toast exaggerated a little bit, but Twitch's contracts are on average a tenth, unironically a tenth of what most other contracts will offer.
So I also run a company that runs creators, and we do direct negotiations with Twitch. I would say that both 1/30th and 1/10th are exaggerations. And I think that it's probably around 1/3 to 1/4 of what other things of what other platforms offer. Because like let's like take a look at, like, let's say it's 1/10, okay, and let's say that Twitch offers you $1 million to stay on the platform. That'd mean that another platform is offering $10 million, right? And these are crazy numbers. We know that the craziest numbers ever to show up in streaming negotiations were Shroud and Ninja's numbers, right? And that was Mixer paying, allegedly, right, $30 to $35 million per creator to get those people. So we know these contracts aren't that high. And I can tell you right now, I know what the contracts are, right? I see almost every one of these deals pass through the agency in some way, or the agencies talk and we see them. And I think it's much closer to like 1/3 or 1/4. But when you're making it, the money situation is interesting for Ludwig, because when you're making a decision to do something, what I didn't hear anybody talk about is Ludwig's content timeline. Ludwig has never set up to be a lifetime content creator. He said right out the gate, he said, I'm going to be doing this stuff for 4 years and then I'm out. Like he tells you oftentimes, right, there is going to be a point where I hit the stop streaming button and I don't come back, right? And that got artificially extended a little bit by this YouTube contract, but there will be a point after that where he doesn't stream and he doesn't create content because it's not his end game, right? I think his end game is in production. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So Ludwig has a different timeline than a lot of the other creators that we've covered. Like what we've always talked about, everyone that's moved to YouTube or moved to another platform. I covered Shroud, Ninja, Tim, right? And I think Ludwig is different from all those people in the sense that he has a comparatively short timeline for for content. He doesn't want to do this forever, right? Which is something I respect. I don't want to. I will always be creating VOD content in some way, but I didn't want to do live streaming forever either. So when you get offered a contract that might be 3 or 4 times greater than what Twitch is willing to provide, then you are up for your consideration is going to be different if your timeline is like 5 years versus if your timeline is like 20 years, right? Like maybe he thinks he can get that bag in 20 years, but because like Ludwig's focus is going to be on that 3 to 4 year timeline. In this case, now it's going to be 5 to 6 years total. You're much more likely to take a deal from YouTube for something like that. That's competitive, right? So the first reason is money, and I want to talk about like this sort of like 1/10, 1/30th contract thing with Twitch. We're going to be covering like a lot of Twitch stuff in the Twitch section, but I just want to cover this like real quick, right? And again, I'm refuting this. I think it's like 1/3, 1/4, and I trust me when I say I have very good information to back that up. But okay, so I think that we expect Twitch to pay top dollar to retain these high level streamers. And we don't consider that for every dollar they spend retaining these high level creators, they are taking away from the budget that they have to support mid-tier or small-tier creators or events or any number of other things, Twitch rivals, things that they're doing, right? Because that's all a portion of one budget. YouTube and Facebook are making plays right now that they do not have to be ROI conscious, meaning that they aren't expecting to get a return on investment in pure cash dollars for Ludwig. And I'll explain why. I'll explain exactly why. It's a big thing that I've never heard anybody talk about in the section 3 of the YouTube section about why they're doing that, right? And I'm also going to say something really cool about Twitch. There's so much cool stuff in this video that I'm so excited to talk about. Oh my God. About why Twitch has actually made that decision in the past and what they're doing now. Like, we're going to break down all the reasons why Twitch and YouTube are making the decisions that they are in my sort of thesis of this. Okay. So, it is unreasonable to me to expect Twitch at this cycle of their lifespan to put in bazillions of dollars to retain top talent versus trying to cultivate the number one streaming platform that leads all of those people there. It's a losing game to compete with YouTube on a purely one-to-one cash dollar basis, and and a lot of people are giving Twitch trouble for not going one-to-one with YouTube on Ludwig because he is a top 10 creator. I actually understand more what Twitch's perspective was on that, because I think they would view that as, okay, that's a lot of money we're giving a top creator to be here, who that we would then need to take away from everything else we're doing. Because you have to remember, like Twitch is ultimately accountable to Amazon, and is a very small partition of their total portfolio. And to some extent, in my opinion, I think Twitch is much less relevant to Amazon than YouTube is to Google, or Facebook is to Facebook, right? Like remember that YouTube as an ecosystem supports Google's ad platform, and Google AdWords, right, is one of the main revenue drivers of Google, right? So making the case to Google for an eventual return on investment play is a much easier pitch than Twitch going to Amazon and saying we need more money for anything. Because if you can't demonstrate how either A, it gets you Amazon Prime accounts, or B, benefits Amazon's shopping site in some way, I think, just me out here in space saying this, that it is harder for Twitch to secure budget from Amazon. Amazon has no real fundamental reason to care about Twitch as a platform, other than the fact that they wanted sort of a content vertical in a new media space, and they wanted the technology for live streaming that Twitch is built off of. Because at the time of the acquisition, it was the most superior technology that there was, and so from an engineering standpoint, Twitch was a phenomenal acquisition for things like AWS, or which is why, by the way, if you look at how Twitch is compartmentalized in Amazon's public records, they're compartmentalized as a section of AWS, right? Compared to all the other things they could be compartmentalized in, they're not in media, they're in AWS. So Twitch is seen as a technological platform to benefit their live streaming section, which is why you see like services like IVS, right, which is like a live streaming service that Amazon based off of Twitch and can farm out to people. You can like have your own streaming service, and also a platform to gain Amazon Prime. So for that reason, Twitch is never going to have the budget that someone like a Google or a Facebook does, where ads are so integral to those platforms that just Facebook gaming and YouTube gaming are one-to-one with those business models. Now that's a vulnerability of Twitch, right? But it's a reality. So by that virtue, I don't think we'll ever see Twitch going toe-to-toe with YouTube or Facebook to try to pan out these contracts. You're going to see over and over again this perception from creators where they're like, yeah, Twitch just didn't offer me the money that YouTube did. You're just going to see that, right? They can't go one-to-one. They can't, because they're not able to approve those budgets on the same level. And even if they were, I think they're more interested in distributing that money to the website as a whole, and trying to cultivate the number one streaming platform in the form of events or Twitch rivals or other things like that. So that's the money talk. I think we're going to continue seeing these deals come well below value. And there's some debate that, like, think about this, right? Like, Disguised Toast, who just recently came back from Facebook Gaming, shows up on Twitch and immediately has 20,000 viewers, right? We see Shroud come back from Mixer, and Shroud's killing it on New World, killing it with 20 to 30 to 50K viewers, depending on what he plays. Twitch knows that if it retains its if it retains its crown as the number one place to be to live stream, they don't have to worry about these creators coming back. They don't have to pay those big dollars, because eventually these creators will come back and will come back to the platform, as many of these people have, as long as these other streaming services feel inferior. So if I was Twitch, right, I would be spending all that money on events, quality, production, building a better website, because then I retain that position as the number one kingmaker. And as long as I do that, those people will always come back anyway, regardless of if I pay them or not. So that's why you're seeing those lower numbers come out of Twitch. And I don't think anybody's talking about that. Let's go to reason number 2 that Ludwig left. And this is a kind of a far more interesting issue than the money, which is a pretty basic issue. That's total streaming hours. So Ludwig says in his Why I Left Twitch video that that one of the defining factors of the Twitch versus YouTube debate for him was the number of streaming hours that are required in contract to actually stream. So if you guys don't know, all of these contracts are written with a certain requirement for streaming hours. That makes sense, right? Like, that if you're going to take a paid contract to be on a platform, you've got to do your job a portion of the time, right? But Twitch is notorious for these hours being extremely, extremely high. And this is something that Asmongold has talked to. This is something that Tim the Tatman has talked to. Many of these, like, top creators have said, man, like, if I want to get paid by Twitch, the requirements on streaming hours are absurd. Now, why are they absurd? Well, because Twitch makes most of its money by you being online. And the more ads you can show, the more online you are, the more money that Twitch makes, the more subs you get, on and on and on, right? So Twitch doesn't have the benefit of, like, a video platform behind it like YouTube does. And so they need to rely heavily on these like live people, especially their top audience being live, to be able to retain and gain in revenue. So they're going to farm these aggressive contracts, but YouTube doesn't have to do that. This is a huge advantage that YouTube has, because YouTube is able to say, look, like, you're a holistic brand. You've got videos on our platform. You can make community posts. You can do all these things that will also get engagement. It will also make us ad dollars. Do those things, right? In addition to live streaming, you can stream less. And that is a defining thing for streamers, because I think that just like the 200 to 300 hour a month streaming stuff, just the streaming schedule is just unsustainable mentally, right? And I did a really important video about this that I want to highlight. If you want to watch more about, like, what I mean by the sort of, like, mental strain of streaming at that level, I did a video called The Hidden Mental Health Epidemic in Streaming. It's located here, youtube.com/Devin Nash, where you're probably currently watching this video. And I would just highly recommend, it's one of the most important videos that I've created, just a full 40-minute breakdown on just, like, the hours that these broadcasters put and the grueling requirement it is to be a streamer at that level makes this, like, really unsustainable. So Ludwig understands that and wants to dedicate some of his time to doing high production value stuff versus just streaming, super auto pets all day. And totally understand it, totally get it. Reason number 3 is something that I'm going to touch on in the next section, but that I want to cover now. And I just want to watch, I want to go to his video and just listen to what he said about it first.
And I realized in that moment that even though I've been with Twitch for 3+ years, even though people call me the golden boy of Twitch, I've never felt like the golden boy of Twitch. I've never felt particularly loved by Twitch. I love Twitch, but it hasn't been a two-way street.
I'm going to give you another one too.
they're not going to help me make the shit I want to make. I don't feel especially liked, respected, wanted. And I also don't want to do something because it's comfortable. The main thing holding.
So here you're kind of seeing something that's real interesting. And this is this feeling from Ludwig, right? That Twitch doesn't have his back. And in the next section, Twitch and its future, we're going to talk about why. But these are the 3 major reasons why Ludwig left Twitch, I think, and ultimately decided on YouTube. And his video on this why I left Twitch, you just Google why I left Twitch, or maybe I'll link it. It's extremely interesting. It's so worth watching. Oh my God, it's like 11 minutes. It's great. It's a phenomenal video for so many reasons. So those are Ludwig and his reasons. And now what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about Twitch and its future. And starting with this really interesting thing here, like that feeling that Twitch doesn't have his back, we're going to dig into what that means, and I'm going to get real granular with this. So please stay for that. Before you do watch that, a couple of things I just want to say real quick. I have an active community of people that talk about new media, influencer marketing, stuff like that. And that is located at discord.gg/Devin. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Devin Nash. It's patreon.com/Devin Nash. It actually has like over 30 videos that I've made that are, it's way more, I can't do a lot of videos on this channel because I have to talk about things that I know everybody is interested in. But if you're interested in like really deep business stuff, really deep, like entrepreneurial or like influencer talk or like how to build businesses or like lifestyle things, the Patreon is something you should check out. It is I'm putting a lot of work into it, and you don't ever feel like you have to support it because I'll always have free stuff here. But if you do want to support it, it would mean a lot to me. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Check it out. And that's it. That's all I want to talk about with some shout outs. Discord.gg/Devin, patreon.com/Devin Nash. Thank you for watching the video and like supporting this channel, subscribing and liking it. I just really want to take a second to appreciate you and thank you for that. And to shout that out. Okay. So let's get into the meat of this video, I think. And that's Twitch and its future and what kind of like what's going on there. So let's first talk about this like really interesting thing, this feeling that like Twitch doesn't have his back. And I want to show you another clip that's going to lead into this and kind of support this again from our boy Charlie here.
But the actual people that make the important decisions don't give a fuck about like what streamers do on their platform. They don't get excited and they don't like fight for streamers. Ludwig is the number 6 earning streamer on all of Twitch, and they weren't ready to fight for him. On Stan's show, he mentioned he wanted one feature from Twitch, and this probably would have kept him here. He wanted Twitch to cap the amount of gift subs his channel could receive because he felt guilty when people would donate too much money to him through gift subs. So he asked them, "Can you just cap it for my channel?" And they said no. They wouldn't budge on anything. And then when he did say, like he just mentioned here, "I'm going to YouTube," they're totally fine with it. I think Twitch believes they're in this position where they're a monopoly, so losing Ludwig's not a big deal. He also mentioned he talked to people, so I'll talk about it. A lot of streamers have been talking to each other about switching platforms, and a couple of them have made that decision, and I think a lot of you are going to be shocked at the next couple that are leaving.
I can confirm that too. I think a lot of people will be really surprised by that. So Charlie is phenomenal here, and this is we're going to talk about Twitch communication and the feel of interacting with Twitch as a broadcaster. So this is something that I have heard so many times from broadcasters, and I think Charlie is dead on here. And a lot of people are going to hear this, and they're going to think that fighting for Ludwig means offering him more money, right? As we covered here about, there's some good fundamental reasons why Twitch doesn't have to do that. But no, that's not the issue here. That this is something that like, I know people on both sides. I know you guys from YouTube are watching this. I know you guys from Twitch are watching this. The thing that Twitch is not doing is making its top broadcasters, actually it's broadcasters in general, but let's talk top broadcasters, feel like they are part of a system that cares about them. This is so important. And a lot of you might know that I represent Amaranth. Our agency represents Amaranth exclusively. And Amaranth has has caught bans for various reasons, right? Some less obvious than others. And on the last suspension that she received, when we corresponded with Twitch directly to try to figure out like why she got banned, the answer we got back from Twitch, I kid you not, was this message: "IDK, I'm not an influencer, LOL." That was why was she suspended? IDK, I'm not an influencer. Okay. And that's completely ridiculous for the #1 female creator on the entire website. It's like what is going on, right? And constantly this feeling of just not being cared for, right? It is something that Twitch cannot nail down because they just think in terms of analysis and numbers and are these people going to be on our website or not, or how much revenue is generated or this, or should we pay them or not? Everybody thinks it's about the money in these contracts, not realizing that these streamers are already ultra freaking rich. And guess what? They're not only ultra freaking rich, they're nerds. They don't live like they're ultra freaking rich. They live like they're in their basement playing video games, and an extra $200,000 a year or whatever the hell it is just not going to matter to them. And this is something that I covered with the streamer Mizkif recently, that like it just doesn't, like, more money is not going to be the needle that pushes you. So once you've gotten to that point where you have just a ton of money and you're swimming in it, you're looking at things like, can I produce cool stuff that matters to people? Am I cared for as a person? Do I feel like I'm someone that's contributing to this platform? And Twitch is just #1 problem right now, and its largest vulnerability to its future. Where I think that if Twitch does not solve this communication problem of making its streamers, especially its top streamers, feel like they matter, that the website is doomed to lose far more people to people that do care. And that's something that comes through not just like with direct one-on-ones. Like I would pull aside and I would say, out of the 50 to 100 top content creators on Twitch, how many of them have had a one-on-one meeting even for 30 minutes with Emmett Shear, the CEO of Twitch, or any of the executive staff? I would be willing to bet it is close to zero. Close to zero of those streamers have had a meaningful meeting with an executive talking about Twitch's future. How many of those people have had that on YouTube side? Every single one of those creators has had that meeting on YouTube side. I remember when Moist Critical uploaded a video talking about some of the problems that YouTube had, and Susan, the CEO of YouTube, called Charlie, just called him on the phone. And then Charlie made a video after that. It was like, hey, Susan called me and cleared this up, because like just a little bit of impact from the top level that says, hey, we're listening. We care. Like that, like calendaring that out is something that's just so critical. And it's something that I learned in building businesses that were even 100 people, right? Like my going one-on-one to someone that was not necessarily my direct report and just listening for 30 minutes to an hour. What do you got? What do you think is going on with this company? First of all, you learn so much. And second of all, it means so much to that individual person. It's not that hard to get those people on your side, but Twitch just literally does zero to do it. For many of the top creators right now, if they have an AM, which is, an account manager, a person who is supposed to represent them on behalf of Twitch, their AM is completely unavailable, barely talks to them. Even if they do have that AM, many of them do not have AMs, and many of the middle tier and high tier partners, which I would consider to be like within the realm of like 3,000 to 10,000 current viewers, are just completely getting dropped in terms of their AMs. Like many, there's an unsung story here where recently, and I think what happened was, this is happening to partners individually, so like there's not a cohesive story on this, but if someone wanted to look into it, you'd find that over the course of the last 6 to 12 months, the majority of partners have lost their AMs, and they've been repurposed into different places. Now why is this happening? Well, one is just because of a pretty practical reason. Twitch has a lot more partners, right? I believe they've moved from something like, 0 partners. Like when I joined, I was one of the first 1,000 partners. We're now like, I think we're north of 70,000 or something like that. 70,000, 80,000, something like that. There's some number on some website I saw recently. But man, that's a lot of partners, right? So you can't expect one-to-one white glove service for all those people, or even the majority of them. But then, like, once you sort of like divide it down into the number of partners that are active, the number of partners that are over 1,000 concurrents, the number of partners that are over 5,000 concurrents, right? You could imagine that Twitch would be able to build a system to make those top 100 broadcasters, particularly the top 10, right? Particularly Ludwig, feel like he's wanted. But it's not just a lack of communication. It's also that the actual communication with Twitch feels very, very stale, feels very, very uncaring. Let's listen to Tim the Tapman's take on that clip that I just showed you, which was Ludwig saying that people like don't really care.
Multi-thousand employee company. There's 18 pipelines things have to go through before they can get done. You know, you have an idea, it won't be executed for 10 months, and it will look nothing like what you originally thought. I know all this. But it still fucking hurt when they said, "We wish you the best."
Interesting. Now, what's interesting about this whole thing, obviously, I had my own decision-making process with YouTube and Twitch, right? All I'll say is, I know Lud's been on Twitch for, I think he said 3 or 4 years. I was on Twitch for about 8 or 9 years. And similar storyline, man. Similar storyline. That's all.
So Twitch has all of these creators who are publicly saying that this is a problem. And I can speak to this personally, by the way, right? Like, I've been a broadcaster since 2012. I was one of the first 1,000 partners. I have been lucky enough to have personal relationships with some of the people at Twitch that have been fantastic to me. Now, I also ran an esports team, right, that had a contract with Twitch, which was, at the time, was one of their largest contracts they had out to any organization. So I've been a top tier person at and now I run an agency that it was one of the agencies of record for Twitch. So we do an enormous amount of work with Twitch. So I talked to a lot of the people there, and the majority of people at Twitch, and particularly a few of them, are phenomenal people. Oh my God. Like, you wouldn't believe it, right? Like, we always like look at these big corporations and we're like, oh, the corporation like is like, Twitch sucks, right? And Twitch does suck as a large corporation. But what is Twitch? Twitch is a composite of people, and those people are good. What is bad is like bureaucracy, inability to do things because it has to pass through different teams, shoddy leadership in the form of Emmett Shear, which I have shouted out numerous times, and I will do so again. Like, right, like, because like, even if you go a little bit down the totem pole from CEO, the executives and VPs and directors, many of whom I personally know, are phenomenal people that really want to enact great change in the company. So we talk about Twitch as this entity, but Twitch is not an entity; it's people. It's 6,000 people distributed across the world trying to do good, who are working for their jobs, not so they can like bring home the huge dollars, but mostly because they're really passionate about it. And yet something is happening within Twitch where they are not getting this message from people like Tim, people like Charlie, people like Ludwig, who are saying over and over again, we don't feel heard. We don't feel like we matter. And for me, who represents several of the top partners on Twitch and also interacts with like pretty much the rest of them, that's what I hear constantly. But when I talk to a lot of the top YouTubers about how they interact with YouTube, they have direct lines to very high level executives there. They're able to communicate their problems and see those problems get resolved. And sure, it's not perfect, and there's going to be some people that are like, well, you can't say that like YouTube doesn't have those problems. But if you look at the scale of YouTube, which is 200 to 1 of 200 users on YouTube for every 1 user on Twitch, it starts to become a little bit that argument of like, oh yeah, we've got like lots of partners and like we got to like worry about them. It becomes a little bit more ridiculous, doesn't it? Because like YouTube is managing its top creators and the narrative in a way that is acceptable to the vast majority of them, and they're managing to do that at a vastly greater scale. And I think a lot of that comes from the top down. It's something that I learned from Riot Games and League of Legends. League of Legends is a phenomenally toxic game, right? Okay, that's not Devin Nash telling you anything you don't already know. But like, what you might not know is that League's strategy and Riot's strategy to kind of solve that was to target, ban, and enforce on a streamer level. So to kind of create the appearance that there was a lot of enforcement going on at a streamer level, because they saw that like broadcasters can amplify narratives so much. And so in the exact same way, if Twitch were just to talk to its top 50 creators, I think they should do it monthly. But like, maybe that's like too much to ask, but at least like every 3 to 6 months, or, you know, ever, right? It would make such a big impact on the way that these creators then go on their streams and talk about these things. It would just make such a big impact. But further, when negotiating I vibe with Ludwig and I vibe with Tim when they said that we wish you the best type of thing. I wish there's so many things I can't talk about just because of my position and I don't want to out anybody or anything. But the number of sort of like equal conversations to that end that I've heard that were very dispassionate. Okay, sounds good. See you later, right? Type of things feels really bad in a negotiation. In a negotiation, you never want to feel like the other side has a ton of leverage and doesn't care about your position and you're fighting for like scraps on the table. And that's often how it feels when you're negotiating with Twitch. They and I don't think it's necessarily because of what Charlie said. I don't think like Twitch as a company is so arrogant to assume that they have like a massive monopoly. I think they know they're vulnerable to YouTube. I think they might know they're vulnerable to Facebook. They probably don't know it yet. Because they're not like, no one's really seen what like metaverse is and like realizing how strong that's going to be. If you really want me to talk about like metaverse in a separate video, like maybe leave a comment and I'll see if there's enough interest in it. Everybody's sleeping on it. Like they don't realize how strong it is. They think it's all a meme. But regardless, like they recognize the threat of YouTube, especially now, right? That they've taken a lot of the top creators. So I don't think it's that. I think it's that Twitch as a company, like just sees themselves as like the place to be for streaming and sees their culture as like pretty unassailable. And there's a very like, you know, use us or lose us type of like thing where I think again, it's reflective of the leadership. And I guess I'll say this before moving on because we're in the Twitch and his future section. I am just in full and utter agreement that Emmett Shear, CEO of Twitch, should step down. And I've said that many times. I still believe it. I think that Emmett is a CTO. I think he's a technical founder. I think he's done phenomenal things for the company in terms of its development, technologically and engineering standpoint. And Twitch would not be where it is today if it wasn't for Emmett. But he utterly fails as a community leader, which is more of what the website needs right now. Now, I guess it's ironic that I'm going to use Jack Dorsey in this example, but I think Dorsey did a pretty fantastic job at Twitter of leading it as a person, as a founder, who he stepped down recently saying a company shouldn't be defined by its founder. Now, if that's true, you know, Emmett is living that philosophy because nobody knows who he is, right? But Twitch needs visionary leaders who are going to communicate with the community and talk about the platform and what their plans are for it. And these people exist within the Twitch ecosystem, and there's even some that I would look at for a CEO position that could be promoted up. There's possibly other people you can bring in. But for now, Emmett doesn't fit the bill. He seems completely disconnected. And I would challenge you to find a single clip, video, or interview outside of TwitchCon with the CEO of the world's largest live streaming platform, which is a media company. It is a company that produces live media. And then look at every other significant person in that space. Look at Jack Dorsey. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. Look at Susan at YouTube. Look at every single other person who is running any kind of communications platform, and you will find countless examples of them not only interacting with their company and their mission, but also interacting directly with their creators. In the case of Susan and even Mark Zuckerberg, who put billions of dollars aside of Facebook to recognize Facebook gaming. Facebook gaming is a fraction of Facebook, and yet Mark Zuckerberg pays special attention to it. I have not ever seen Emmett tweet at or send out a message or support a blog post or anything. This is not what an executive should be doing in this ecosystem. And look, like my own take on this, totally, I've never been told anything on this. I don't have any insider information on this. My take on it is he's catching his Amazon vesting and he's kind of out of the picture, right? Like Emmett's got to be close to the billionaire range at this point. And I think he's like more interested in VC and like pursuing different activities and things like that. Like just like probably holding on to Twitch because he wants that title, man. Like, I think he's got to find a worthy successor. He's got to find that sort of Andy Jassy type thing because it's just not working. It hasn't worked for a long time. So that I think is a big issue here, right? With Twitch's communication, and I think that much of the culture of the people that are doing these negotiations and are interacting with these broadcasters and interacting with agents like us, right? Agents like me, are from that camp. They're just people that are sort of like dispassionately pursuing this from a very mechanical standpoint. And they're good people, like really, like I'm not gonna say they're not, but they have that problem, and they just it just doesn't come off like they're empathetic, and I think that matters a lot. I think it matters a lot more than people realize. That like empathy will move mountains of cash, right? That I guarantee you, if Twitch offered the same level of empathy that YouTube did in this negotiation, that Ludwig would have gone with Twitch, even if it was like 4, 5, 6 times less money. I really know that sounds insane, but I really believe it would have happened. And the feeling you get just from working with influencers all my life in esports, many times in esports, I saw like a decision to move to another team or for me to lose a person was so dependent on the internal feeling that person has on like how well our team is doing for them spiritually. And the money is like, the money's there. Again, like I put it as like the reason number one and like Ludwig's reasons, but it's not like comparable to like the feeling that the team is taking care of you. If you feel like your team is taking care of you, and the team in this example was Twitch, you will move mountains to stay there. And if you don't feel like that, then it suddenly like your ties become much more tenuous, right? So I think there's a lot to talk about there. And like the future of Twitch. And that said, I do think that Twitch does some things right? And this is something we probably don't talk about enough. And I just covered this topic with Mizkif, which will be a video. I had a long form talk with Mizkif, a couple hours the other day. I'll be posting that up on YouTube in a little bit. You can go watch it on his channel if you want to catch it early. But that's that. First of all, I think that Twitch has a very strong ecosystem and a collab meta that is unrivaled, right? So I made a video a while back, which was, I think, called the new meta on Twitch. I just want to put this out here as the Nostradamus prediction. I don't know where it is. Or is it meta? What did I say? Oh yeah, the new Twitch meta here. This is 10 months ago, where I said that this is during kind of the Among Us craziness. I said that collaboration is here to stay. It's when we first really saw it on Twitch. It's like collaboration became a huge thing. Streamers interacting with each other and bouncing off each other for content. We're seeing that in droves now with people like OTK, like having these huge household events, Thanksgiving parties with like 20 streamers, soccer matches, things like that. That's here to stay. That's the future of Twitch. It's the real strong thing that Twitch has over YouTube. I don't think that YouTube is ever going to be able to duplicate that. It's just going to be hard, just because I think the Twitch ecosystem is so niche that it develops those ecosystems and supports them. And Mizkif and I were talking about this, and we were saying like it's more like almost like a high school quick, right? Like where it's like this like very particular like cool kids and not cool kids type of thing. And that can be a vulnerability for Twitch because it makes it harder for new audiences to come in. But it's also an advantage that Twitch has this like incredible ecosystem. And the second thing that I think Twitch does right is I think they legitimately nail monetization for small to medium creators. If you are a 100 to 1,000 to 5,000 viewer streamer, I think that Twitch probably provides better total monetization and monetization options for those broadcasters than any other platform out there. I think that it is realistic to build a career on Twitch if you can get discovery from another platform and you can drive users in from another platform. The monetization options on Twitch are actually really good. Not a lot of people talk about it, but like they do those things right. So there's things that Twitch is really doing right. And the last thing I'll just bring up here, since we're already 38 minutes into this video, is amazing, is the events. And so we saw Twitch stand behind Coinbase and do the Germa's Dollhouse sponsorship. They've done a lot of stuff with Twitch Rivals, been pretty incredible. They've been sponsoring like little things here and there, especially the last like 2021-ish. They've been amazing at sponsoring events. I think they're going to continue to do that. They're seeing the importance of that, and that's really cool. They're giving streamers a lot of physical resources as well as exposure and hype to be able to kind of do their own thing and to start shows. They've been sponsoring a lot of or co-sponsoring a lot of shows. This is super cool. It's something Twitch is doing like really freaking well. It's just nailing this event stuff. And that said, I think the third and last thing on the Twitch and its future section that I want to talk about is just the number one vulnerability. And I covered it a little bit in the and I covered it a lot in the streamer mental health section, and that's just this: streamers can't keep the hours. It's such a big problem. There is no way that Hassan Abi, Pokimane, XQC, that these people are going to continue year after year after year to pound out 200 hours a month, 300 hours a month, 320 hours. It is just not going to happen. And Twitch has no direction to go. Because there is no other form of content on Twitch besides live. So they are continuously incentivizing stream more, grind more, work more, do more. And streamers are competition getting higher and higher and higher. Like viewership expectations getting higher, higher and higher. These broadcasters are going to break down. They're not going to be able to do this. The life cycle of a broadcaster is going to be like 3 to 4 years max, and then they're going to burn out. And they're either going to do these things like move to YouTube, or they're going to like drastically lower their requirements and just like fade from the public eye. What do? I have no solution to this problem. I don't know how you solve this problem. I think that Twitch really is going to have a problem going forward with these creators leaving because of the reasons like Ludwig said, like, hey, I want to do more production stuff. I want to do cooler events. I want to do things that matter. I don't want to stream 12 hours a day. You're going to run into this with every one of your creators, and especially if they're offering more money, it's going to be a huge problem. So I think for its future, Twitch has to solve the communication problem. If it does, they will really stem the bleeding of broadcasters leaving. But this long-term vulnerability thing is something that everybody at Twitch should be thinking about how to solve. Is like how do we keep users on our platform in a healthy way that doesn't strain their mental sanity to a don't starve level of like nuttiness, where you're just like, oh my god, I'm streaming 300 hours a month to a parasocial, mostly toxic audience, and sure, I'm making millions of dollars, but every day I question my existence. Like there has to be some kind of solution to that. I don't know what it is. All right, so I think those are the things that Twitch needs to solve. Some of the things they're doing right, and maybe we'll talk more about this in like a future video. I just can't believe how already long this is. So we're going to go into the third section, which is going to be YouTube and its future, and kind of 3 points on that. So the first thing I want to talk about is YouTube's strategy. I think everybody is missing YouTube's strategy and isn't considering what YouTube is really trying to do to like kind of maximize it. They think that they're trying to acquire these streamers to pull their viewership over to YouTube. So for example, like a lot of people believe, well, we'll pay for Ludwig because we want to bring his live audience over to YouTube. And that is not accurate. That's not what YouTube's doing. Most likely, the vast majority of people that YouTube pulls over are already on YouTube. They're already watching videos. They're already using YouTube. They're already dedicated gamers that are using YouTube for other things. So they're not interested in pulling Ludwig's audience. They're interested in something else. Secondly, Twitch likewise is not really worried about losing that audience because the people that watch live streams are not going to just go, like, some of them will go watch Ludwig, sure, and like Ludwig will pick up a new audience from the people that are on YouTube that are native to the platform. But the majority of those people will just sort of filter out into other streams. There's a data platform that I talk about quite a bit called Stream Hatchet, where they work together with me to kind of share some data back and forth about like what is happening on Twitch. And one of the things they came up with pretty recently was that there's a 26% crossover with like so for every 10 viewers, there's 3 viewers that go to all the top 100 streams, and they just distribute kind of evenly across the platform. So there's a ton of crossover between like a Mizkif and a Trainwreck stream, or like an XQC and a Mizkif stream, or an XQC and a Trainwreck stream, right? There's a ton of crossover, way more than you might think. So most of those users that are going to, like, once like a person leaves the platform, they're just going to redistribute to those other live streams. Not really that big of a deal. Twitch is not really worried about that. YouTube isn't either. So then why is YouTube paying these huge dollars to get people over? Well, let's look at some of the people that they've acquired. I'm going to tell you, every single person that YouTube has acquired has something in common. And that is that they are big on events. They run stuff outside of their normal streams. Lupo, $10 million charity events, right? Ludwig, Smash tournament for $1 million. Subathons. Valk, right? Major collab events. 100 Thieves collabs, big like big stuff like that, right? Every one of the people that YouTube has made a play to get are major event people. And this is the strategy that YouTube is using. This is the core of my thesis. We're here. We're 45 minutes into this video, boys, and we are now discussing the big reveal. YouTube is trying to be the place for live events to happen, not live streams, live events. And they know that playbook because that's the playbook that Twitch used in 2012 to 2015 for esports. Many of you don't know this, but the vast majority of top esports teams today that are franchised in places like CSGO and League of Legends, League of Legends, and then they play in CSGO, were supported by Twitch in the early days, including CLG. CLG we had a contract with Twitch, a paid contract with Twitch, and the majority of the reason that I could have grown that company with George was because of the paid contract that Twitch gave us at no expectation or ROI of their own, and that was similar to C9 and TSM. Many of those top teams had contracts with Twitch that were paid contracts in exchange for various deliverables that I probably can't get into, so I don't want to discuss. But the bottom line is, you may not know it, but Twitch was a huge unsung reason why the esports scene, especially the League of Legends scene, even was propped up at all. They financially backed that scene into existence, and with no expectation of ROI. But this is like 2015 range. 1 to 2 years later, esports accounted for 25% of Twitch's total viewership. So what did Twitch do? Twitch invested money in event creators with no expectation of ROI, and then years later got that ROI through a healthy competitive scene. And you could say competitive, I would say it could be events. Now, in the exact same way, YouTube is making a play to acquire broadcasters who are going to run events. YouTube wants Ludwig, for sure. He's a phenomenal addition to the platform. But what YouTube really wants is Ludwig's $1 million Smash tournament that he announced. And they're willing to put the production, the support, and the work behind that. And if you look at like what Ludwig said, ultimately Ludwig feels like YouTube is going to help create his stuff better than Twitch will. You hear that from every single content creator who has left Twitch to go to YouTube. They say, for the production level stuff that I want to create, YouTube is going to do a better job of supporting me. That's the big takeaway here. YouTube's strategy is to focus on events. They want, when an event happens, they want to be the place to be for that. And look at YouTube's technology, DVR, high 4K streams, playback, right? YouTube is building a live streaming platform that's going to be the place for events. So it's not that they expect all the people to go over from Ludwig's stream to Ludwig's stream on YouTube Gaming, but what they do know is that when Ludwig runs that YouTube exclusive Smash tournament, the biggest one ever, the minds of consumers will start to be, if I want to watch a live event, I watch it on YouTube. Now, you guys listening to this, leave a comment. Tell me, how many of you will watch the LCS on YouTube instead of on Twitch? How many of you will watch your favorite esports event if it's being dual streamed on YouTube versus Twitch? How many of you will watch Critical Role on YouTube versus Twitch? Right? A lot of you are going to answer YouTube. Why? Because they are investing heavy amounts of money in making events incredible to watch. Max resolution, playback, pausing, great audio, great production quality. That's the move that YouTube is making. My thesis is that YouTube intends to overtake Twitch in terms of events the same way that Twitch became the #1 platform on live streaming, was because they started in events from 2012 to 2015. They funded events aggressively, especially esports, and that accounted for over a quarter of their total viewership a couple of years later, and culminated in many of these personalities today that are these huge broadcasters. In the exact same way, you're seeing YouTube do the same thing. That's just so interesting to me, right? So that, I think, is YouTube's kind of like grand strategy. And the thing holding YouTube back from that is this culture problem where YouTube doesn't feel like a cohesive place like Twitch does, where you go to Twitch and if you understand the ecosystem, you understand the emotes, you go to any chat and you can know that like when somebody hears a police siren, everybody spams Monka. And like and there's like it's just this kind of unspoken flywheel effect, right? That Twitch has. And Mizkif and I were talking, and Mizkif kind of believes that culture is like almost impossible to recreate on YouTube. But I actually think that Ludwig is a key pickup for YouTube because Ludwig is in of himself a professional marketer and a person who will make the platform better by virtue of being there. He's already developing an extension that will post the exact same Twitch emotes that will you can put your Twitch name in instead of your YouTube name. There's a ton of options in this extension that changes YouTube to be more like Twitch. I actually think that extension could very well be the better Twitch TV of YouTube. If you guys don't know, a guy named Night Dev developed Better Twitch TV, and Better Twitch TV is actually exactly like it sounds. It's a phenomenal name for an app because it literally is Better Twitch TV. It offered a ton of new emotes. It offered a ton of new options that you couldn't get on Twitch for the longest amount of time. And it was just it made Twitch into a better product. And because of it, a lot of people started using Twitch and becoming more familiar with the platform. I think in the exact same way, Ludwig could produce an extension that makes a lot of the UI problems and a lot of the complaints about YouTube just flat out irrelevant. And that people don't exactly realize how easy that is for someone like Ludwig to do if he's focused on it. And if he has a incentive in doing so, this incentive being that he's running a live stream on YoutubeGaming, right? So I think we're going to see a lot of those culture problems start to clear up as Ludwig develops that. And I think it's not unreasonable for me to say that he might single-handedly make the platform more accessible to use. Now, at the same time, we see someone like Ryan Fliz, right, the head of YouTube Gaming, coming out with just insane stuff where it's just update after update after update of things that YouTube Gaming is doing to try to like support the platform, make it better. With 2021 and 2022 having a huge roadmap as to what's going to happen on YouTube Gaming. And I'm telling you, without any insider information, I know that YouTube is going to do something related to like a Prime type thing for subs, which is one of the big things that differentiates it from Twitch right now, is like Prime type subs. YouTube's going to do something. I think the way it's going to work is they're going to plug into YouTube Premium somehow. If you have YouTube Premium, maybe you can give a free sub to like a streamer. That'd be my guess. And like come back and tag the video if I'm right. I think in 6 months we'll see something about that. I literally know nothing. I'm under no NDAs. I know nothing. If I did know something, I would have not had this segment in the video. But that's my suspicion that YouTube will do a YouTube Prime type of thing. I also think that YouTube is going to make some huge changes in terms of its discoverability. I also think it's going to make some huge changes in terms of its UI, and that all of these changes are easier to make on a platform that has 2 billion users versus a platform that is basically desperately trying to acquire users. That is Twitch, and that's going to be a core component of YouTube's success, is that existing audience that they can bring into live streaming algorithmically. So I think those are the strategies. One of the comments I thought was interesting about this was from Pokimane. She said that that one of the kind of compelling and damning features of like YouTube is that we really haven't seen an individual streamer come up through YouTube, right? Yet to like really blow up through YouTube. I would counter, when is the last time that we saw one of those streamers come up through Twitch? Right? For someone that came up from zero that didn't have any outside help has almost never happened since like years and years ago. But I'd also say that there are a lot of niche streamers who are doing very well in YouTube that a lot of people don't talk about. Sometimes very niche. Like I'm thinking of like Legends of Total War, for example, who's like a broadcaster that starts exclusively on YouTube and has YouTube type videos. He streams Warhammer, right? Like he streams Warhammer most of the time. Gets like 2 to 3K viewers and does very well and runs a phenomenal stream. It's super entertaining if you want to check it out. Legends of the Total War is the guy's name. Awesome dude. The reason why this works is because there's such a higher available audience, or in marketing terms, we refer to that as TAM, total addressable market, right? Again, those 2 billion users that are all interested in different things. You can run a stream of 3,000 people for your Warhammer fantasy, right? Like that's something you can do. Whereas on Twitch, there's just not enough people that care about that to make that possible. And even if there was, they can never find you because there's no discoverability. But algorithmically, if you're searching for Warhammer on YouTube, it'll point you right to what you want to see. So those are some of the reasons why I think YouTube is really going to push forward and continue to dominate market share. I guess I'll go into predictions. Okay, so like more or less, right? I think that Twitch is looking up a lot as a platform, and that a lot of people have expected me to be the kind of person that is just going to like be like doom gloom, the end of Twitch, I have seen it. I don't think we're there. I think what Twitch is on its way to becoming is a very niche website for a certain dedicated amount of people that like to consume live streaming content, particularly in long form, right? Because the average Twitch watcher watches Twitch for 109 minutes. That is going to appeal to a certain sort of person. But if Twitch doesn't improve the problems that we talked about, the streamer hours at the top level and the Twitch communication, what's going to start happening is the orbiting people that are more normalized users that consume the platform less are going to start moving to places like YouTube where they can get a better picture of what's going on, a more accessible picture of what's going on. And they're going to start moving, and they already have, right? And YouTube is going to start eating the market share of those normalized people. And then, hey, let the super dedicated people that know every single thing that's going on via their update push notifications on live stream fail or whatever, let those people be on Twitch. You can have them. Okay. We don't want them anyway. Okay. They're actually kind of toxic when you look at it. Like that's fine. Okay. And then meanwhile, we will be the platform that is the place for like cool live events, normal, like people that will like kind of dip in and out of streams, that consume things, as well as like pretty big, healthy audiences. Like we saw a Dream SMP streamer on YouTube hit 607,000 concurrent viewers, right? That's not even an event. That's an insane, unfathomable number. That's 6 stadiums worth of people watching a dude play Minecraft, right? So YouTube still has the ability to maintain these insane audiences, and they'll continue to leverage that, and you will see YouTube streams with over 1 million concurrent viewers that are not doing anything, that are just running events, versus like for Twitch to hit those numbers, you need like Abai or like Gregef doing like the biggest thing of their life in like the Spanish community, right? Like something like that. It's going to be completely different. So YouTube is still going to maintain those healthy streams. And if you look at the people that went to YouTube, I don't think there's a single person that lost viewership. I think all of them pretty much gained viewership within the top, 500 creators that moved there. And some people are going to say like, there might be like some Dr. Disrespects in there or whatnot. Those people were banned, right? Kind of like different situation. But the people that moved, right, that moved like actually have grown, right? Like Courage has said that, Valka said that. And I would think even the doc is like sitting at like 20, sometimes 50K. I mean, he's not doing bad, right? So everyone has benefited from these YouTube moves. YouTube is going to continue to own and start to acquire the normal audience. Twitch will become increasingly a niche website that will continue to grow. Let's make no mistake. Twitch doubled its viewership overall during COVID. They did phenomenal, right? They killed it. I don't want to say they didn't. I want to give credit where credit's due. And I think that Twitch is really shaping up. I think that they're doing better in the event scene. I think they're doing better in supporting streamers monetarily. I still think that they have that there's a soulless automaton feel of not giving a shit, particularly when talking to them, and they need to improve that. They need to do more one-on-ones. And Emmett needs to step down for someone who can be a more front-facing CEO who communicates with people. But other than that, I think that they're looking up as a platform. And they're doing well. They're doing well statistically. Okay, like don't let anybody tell you that they're not. But YouTube is just making so many good decisions, and they're retaining that cultural empathy of just caring more about their broadcasters and about the sort of thing that they're doing, or at least creating the appearance of caring more. Because again, the people at Twitch do care. They care a lot. I can tell you when talking to them. But that doesn't get communicated to the outside. And part of that, by the way, is people like my fault making a video like, wow, Twitch is over. And part of it's the fault of Reddit that like comes at someone like DJ Wheat or Marcus, right? Who every time he tries to make a show being transparent, he just gets knocked down. It teaches people at Twitch that if we're silent, we get less hate, right? And it takes a powerful person to break through that and say, regardless of what I'm going to get, I'm going to tell you guys what's going on. It becomes very ostracizing to get that feeling every time of like going out and trying to just communicate yourself and your intentions, and then just getting blasted for it by every angle. I'm sure some of the developers of newer games feel this way too. So we are now entering the hour. Have you been here for the entire hour? Oh my God. If you have, leave a comment below. Tell me you're here at 59 minutes. what's up? Thank you very much for watching this long. That is actually amazing. Like, you're basically watching a podcast, a story at this point. Okay, but we're gonna close it out with, I think, some of the real big points. The last one I'm gonna leave you with is, like, hopefully another kind of mind bender. Thanks for supporting this channel, right? Thank you so much for being here and for thinking about subscribing. I mean, if you've been here for an hour and you're not subscribed, what are you doing, really? Like, you know, you're not on the Discord, discord.gg/Devin. Come on, right? It's free. It's a great place to be. Very, very awesome place. So think about it. Let's cover kind of the big takeaways here. The first one's obvious, right? Twitch needs to improve communication. Needs transparent leadership. Nothing we didn't already know from watching this video, right? YouTube is on the path of creating mega events that will eventually lead large audiences to choose YouTube as the place to be. Much like Twitch did in the early days with esports, we mentioned before, right? And the last thing I want to leave you with, which I think is really interesting, is Ludwig will show us the way. Ludwig's going to be a unique case that we didn't see with Courage or Valk or any other people that moved over. Ludwig is going to teach us a lot about YouTube gaming, and he's going to be transparent and talk about his experience the entire way through. Does Ludwig fade into irrelevancy? And because he is really kind of one of the first people that is moving to YouTube gaming as a streamer that doesn't play video games really, is his kind of content going to work there? Is his viewership going to grow? Is it not? And then what is his individual take going to be on YouTube after 6 months or 12 months? Is it phenomenal and he's just ecstatic to be there and it's great? Or what Ludwig said in his Why I Left Twitch video was his number one fear on YouTube is being alone. He feels like, you know, he's gonna be ostracized from that Twitch community. Well, so does he feel that way? Does that happen? And if these questions are gonna be what every broadcaster is paying attention to, and their answers will inform what a lot of broadcasters are gonna do. I think Ludwig is a strong enough presence in the new media world that he could single-handedly beacon many people to move over to YouTube and also to stay on Twitch. And I think he'll do that by how he talks about this and how he covers this going forward. It's going to be extremely interesting to see because we will have so much transparency into the reality of being a top-level YouTube broadcaster contrasted with Twitch, because Ludwig often has these very deep dive, analytical, marketing type, crunch the numbers type conversations with us. And we'll find that out. And we'll know a lot more about YouTube gaming and what it's doing in 6 to 8 months, not just because Ludwig will show us that way, but also because of the changes that are happening and the streamers that are going to be moving over, which you will see videos about from me. All right. So that is the reasons. That is Ludwig and his reasons, Twitch and his future, and YouTube and its success in the future of Twitch and YouTube and Ludwig. I hope you enjoyed this video. If it was helpful, leave a comment down below if you enjoyed it. Thanks for staying the whole time if you did, or just skipping through and seeing this part. Appreciate it. Talk to you guys again next time, very soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.